What's up, my friends? It is Stormy, of course. Yeah, see, I'm doing the intro for my other videos, for my other channels now. See, I'm just behind the times now. It's like, every time I turn on the camera, I'm like, what channel is this? Like, you know, because I got my movie review channel, which I call myself Stormy on, and then I got my Star Wars channel, which I call myself Stormy on. So sometimes I turn on the camera, I'm like, what's up, guys? It's Stormy. I'm like, crap, oh, I gotta do that again. But I guess you guys will see that one, because I'll probably leave it in. But yeah, what's up, guys? It's Danny Gallows, of course. And thank you for joining me for another vlog video. And this one today is going to be kind of like me doing more like life lessons and stuff like that. Me kind of like, you know, before it was just kind of me telling you guys stories, and I'm still going to do that. But when I start telling like life lesson stories, there's stories that have a point to them. There's a point, there's a moral or something that I'm trying to get across to you guys. And what I'm going to be discussing with you guys today is how important it is to have a 5-year plan, at least a 5-year plan. You know, there's a great saying that Mick Dodge said. Mick Dodge, of course, is the star of you know, his own show on the I believe it's the Discovery Channel or the National Geographic Channel. I can't remember, but Mick Dodge, he said he had this great saying that when prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And I've always loved that saying. I love it because it makes sense. It makes sense. It's like, if you don't plan for things, things aren't going to go the way you expect. And I really, you know, I learned that the hard way. You know, I went through that whole process because, you know, after I got out of the Navy, transferred into civilian life again, and I went back home to Maine, things just quieted down for me. Because when I got back home, there was, you know, aside from that transition into civilian life, which was hard from military life, you know, you're also, you know, I came back to Maine. All my friends are in California, you know, so I came back to Maine and there was like nothing going on. And I found myself just kind of working a regular job, you know. I was working at a nursing home, you know, just kind of like as an assistant there, you know, just passing out food and, you know, cleaning here and there and stuff like that. And I was living kind of like a simple life, just kind of, you know, just here and there and doing this and that, and not really like doing much with my life except working. And then all of a sudden, one day, I came across this posting actually on Craigslist under the film section for a local director that was hiring people for a horror film that he was shooting up here. And lo and behold, you know, very long story short, you know, I ended up getting the part in the movie, and then I wound up in Western Maine shooting a horror movie, a B horror movie. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. I met so many people and I gained so much experience. You know, part of the reason why I started my movie review channel is because I have that background. I have done a movie before. So it's like I have more of an understanding of directors and actors and stuff like that, which is, you know, was a big reason why I started my movie review channel. And I was just so privileged, you know, I feel so privileged to have gone through that process. And like I said, I met so many people. My director released a comic book after, which I was featured in, and I just, you know, I met a girl, the makeup artist that was there on set. I met her, and me and her kind of had a little thing going on. And it was just such a great experience for me to just be there. And then, of course, seeing the movie in the theater after it. You know, our director, he rented out a theater in a local movie theater. And then all of us, you know, me and my friends and my mom, and it's just like everybody went to go see this movie that I was in. And it was such a cool moment in my life. And I always just thought that, you know, because I'd gone through that process, right, that like something big was going to happen. And that was like one of my first mistakes, was that when I got out of the Navy, I was still kind of like living that kind of like lifestyle where I was invincible. You know, I was like, oh, anything I touch is gold, anything I do is going to work out. And so when I went into this movie, that was my mindset. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this movie, like somebody's going to notice me, somebody's going to pick me up, yada, yada, yada. And it just wasn't that way, because quickly what I found out after that is that even though, I mean I was at the movie theater like signing people's posters, like people wanted like my autograph and stuff, so I was just like on this high, you know, like after I got done filming this movie. And I quickly came to, you know, finding myself just back at work. You know, like nothing was going on. The makeup artist, the girl who I'd been you know, had a crush on, you know, in set, would had a little thing going on set. You know, she was back in Massachusetts, and you know, nothing was going on there anymore. And I was, you know, I wasn't. I was, nothing was going on that front. And nothing was going on in my like social life and everything. I was just working, you know. I was just like this kind of like shadow man, you know what I'm saying? That was just kind of like working, like a shell kind of what I had been before. Because when I was in the Navy, I was just like, you know, I had lots of friends and there was always things going on, and we were going places and doing things and hanging out together and experiencing things together. And then when I was back home in Maine and I was just working, it's like I wasn't making as many friends because I didn't find people that I was working with that interesting. So I wasn't making any friends, and I was kind of just alone all the time. And I would find myself kind of just sitting at home, you know, like every night, like, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, because, and that's how it was, you know. I was just working every day and nothing was going on. And then one day, kind of like a light bulb just went off in my head, and I was like, what am I doing in Maine? Like, what am I doing here? Like, all of my friends are in California. Why did I leave? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you know, I was getting sick of California at the time, but that's just because I was being lazy and unproductive. You know, it's like nothing warranted me really coming back home. Like, I should have stayed out there and kept things going, but instead I let things fizzle out. And granted, you know, things weren't going, you know, specifically well back in California, but now that time had gone by and things had settled down a little bit, I was like, man, I want to get back out to California. You know, I want to get back out there because that's where the action is. I want to rekindle my band. I want to rekindle my friends. You know, I want things going on in my life again. And so, kind of without any thought, I kind of just left. Like, I literally, like, I just took the money that I had with me, which was, like, it wasn't much. I had enough to pay rent because what was going on is that Matt, my bassist, Matt, who had been, you know, we'd been friends for years, you know, he was my best friend out in California, you know what I'm saying? Of course, he'd stayed out there, and lo and behold, he had secured us an amazing location in La Mesa, California. Literally one of the only houses in the neighborhood with a massive backyard. I mean, this house was the setup. It was the setup. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we had a big, I shouldn't say, you know, it wasn't a large house. It was a decent size, one level house, of course, right? But it was decent size. We're talking, you know, like, 2 bedrooms that you could make into 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a detached garage, a covered porch area that we made into a bar, and then literally like a backyard that just stretched into the next neighborhood, which was a total rarity. So like we had this setup out there, and that's what happened is I let my excitement kind of overrule my brain. You know, like my, as J-Rock once famously said in Trailer Park Boys to Julian, you know, my ego was writing checks that my brain couldn't cash. You know, like I was just, let me get back out to California. I don't care. I'll just take the money that I have now and let me just get back out there, you know, to my friends. And without thinking, I just left. You know, I just went out there, boom, we secured the house. I put all my money down on rent. And then after that was just literally like the best time of my life. You know, because that's how things go. That's the roller coaster of life. It's up, it's down, it's up and down. You know, it's like, yes, you know, all my money was gone and I'm like scraping at pennies here, but you know what? At least I was back with my friends. At least my band was back together. At least we were in this killer house in the college area of San Diego, you know, La Mesa, a big college area, you know, right next to the college practically, you know, that's where the college is pretty much. And so we just had this great setup out there. And what followed was just like the greatest years of my life. We were playing bands. Of course, we were struggling for money, you know, working part-time jobs and all that stuff. Struggling for money constantly. Yes, even struggling for food, you know, constantly. But you know what? We were playing shows, man. We were playing shows and we were having a blast. People were coming out to see us. We were making money. I remember one time so many people came out to see us play and we made $75. I mean, you know, that was ours. That was ours. And of course we blew it all, you know, but like we made that money. It's like, you know, and that's why I went out there. It's like sometimes you don't care about the details. You have to go. You just have to do something. You know, you have to go. And it winds up being the best time of your life, right? For a little while. And then things start to catch up with you and bite you in the ass, like not having any money. And you know, things didn't go that well. The band once again was starting to deteriorate. We had one of my best female friends still to this day was our keyboardist and our singer. but unfortunately there was some love triangles going on once again, and there was some dissent just going on among the band. Things just weren't going well. Once again, we just stopped practicing as much. We stopped playing as many shows. There were a lot of things in my life that were back home that were going on that were just really like starting to get to me. You know, just things back. My family in general was starting to become unstable, and I'm out here in California sucking up all the money. It's just like, you know, it's like, what am I doing out here? So it's like, you see this contrast that's going on? I mean, seriously, like you see this? Like, it's like, you know, you're in Maine, you want to get to California, and then once you get to California, I'm like, oh crap, I want to go back to Maine. You know, it's like, you never know. And this is why it's always important to have a plan, because, once again, I found myself just leaving California, and this time I left it in the wrong way. You know, I kind of just left my friends behind, you know, which was just wrong to do. You know, and it's like, and I still regret doing that to this day, because maybe I could have made it work. You know, like maybe I could have made it work. Maybe if I had just stayed out there, and I just, even though there was all this crap going on, if I just, you know, like maybe tried harder or did something differently, I don't know. But then again, you know, everything happens for a reason. Wherever you are, that's where you're supposed to be. You know, so I kind of like, I try not to look back on that part of my life with any kind of like regret and stuff, but I still wonder, you know. And so after that happened, here I am going back to Maine again. You know what I'm saying? Whoop, you're back and forth, and now I'm back to Maine again. And then when I get back to Maine, this is where things really just got bad with my life, because now I was directionless. I mean, completely directionless. I felt like a failure at everything that I tried to do up until that point, and I just kind of shut down. You know, like, and I immediately, to quell this, I immediately hooked up with this girl, right, who I had been talking to. You know, she who was from another state but had moved to Maine, and so immediately, as soon as I get back, what do? You know, I hook up with her, and then next thing I know, I'm in an apartment with her for a year and a half. And it's just like, that's how life hits you sometimes, man. It's just like, you start something, and then you wake up one day, and you're with someone in an apartment that you can barely pay rent on for a year and a half. Things are going great at first. I mean, you know how like relationships usually go, you know, things are going amazing at first, but then you get an apartment together, and you start to live together, and then things just pull apart completely, and you just find everything just fizzled out again. And then after my failure in California, I enter into this relationship, fall flat on my face with this girl, because, you know, I wasn't all her fault to why we eventually broke up, and because we didn't have a clean breakup. You know, it was one of those kind of like nasty breakups, you know. And it wasn't all her fault, you know. I contributed to the problem as well. You know, I wasn't working as much as I should have. I wasn't pulling my end. I wasn't paying my end of the rent, you know, here and there. And I was angry, you know, and I was just unsettled with my life, and it just, you know, it didn't go well. So we just, you know, split apart. She went back to her state, I went back to mine, you know, and we kind of just went our separate ways. And so it's like I failed at you know, California twice. Didn't have anything going on back here in Maine. I get out of this horrible relationship, and then it's just, I didn't know what to do at that point. I mean, for the next couple of years, I moved in with my grandmother. I was living with my grandmother. Guys, I was like 25, 26 years old, like living with my grandmother. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to like make ends meet, working part-time jobs and stuff like that. And yes, you know, I mean, you know, I just, you know, I was trying to live a good life. I was trying to be happy, but I just wasn't. You know, it's like I couldn't get there. I was trying to, you know, do what most lonely people do, is surround themselves with things like cats and entertainment and TV. And, you know, looking back on it now, that should have been the time that I started my YouTube channel. Looking back on it now, I always think about this. I'm like, you know, back in 2014, because that's when I was like living with my grandmother and stuff, you know, 2013, 2014, hello, you know what I'm saying, The Force Awakens was just announced, Star Wars Mania was starting again, that's when I should have started my YouTube channel. And who knows, maybe I would have had more of a following by now if I had done that. And I always look back on that time, I'm like, dude, like you're sitting there wasting so much time, like do something. It's like The Force Awakens is starting again, why don't you start a channel? You watch, you know, all of these channels out there that are inspiring me, and I'm sitting there on my ass doing nothing, you know, and of course, once again, you know, I'm late to the party with my YouTube channel, and you know, and this is the point that I'm trying to make to you guys is I wanted to, you know, tell you guys this brief story today because this is why it's always important to have a plan. If I had planned things out, I wouldn't have got myself into that situation. And not to say that I'm not thankful for that situation, because that situation drove me to start working full time, non-stop almost, so that I could use what money that I'd saved up from the Navy and that I was still getting from the Navy, plus the money that I was getting full time, and bam, start a savings. And then I was able to use that to carry myself through the next couple of years. So I don't regret doing that, because that was the kick in the butt that I needed to start working full time, you know, nose to the grindstone, so that I could build a cushion for myself. And that's where I am today. I still have that kind of, it's weakening, but it's still kind of, you know, that's still security that I have, basically just enough to pay for this apartment here, you know, that's about it. But I always think about, what if I had had a plan? You know, what if I had had a 5-year plan where I just planned out everything that I was going to do so that I didn't get myself into a mess? You know, because I was of that mentality, and I'm still kind of like that today. I just of that mentality where you're like I'm a procrastinator, man. You know, it's like I don't like to plan for things. I just like to ride the wave. Hey, life, you know what? Just take me where you want to take me. You know, just take. I don't want to plan for anything, but it's wrong to do that, guys. Even people who just like to ride the wave of life, you gotta plan something. You've gotta have some kind of a structure, because otherwise, without that, you are directionless. And thank goodness I was able to find direction again. You know, I mean, there are certain, you know, even with my music, you know, I'm making music again. I found my direction with music again, you know. I created a Star Wars channel. I'm sharing the love of Star Wars with people. Bam, direction. You know, you have to find direction with your if you're creative and you're imaginative, you got to find direction for that and stay on that direction. Don't ever let yourself wallow. Don't ever let yourself be a stick in the mud, you know, and just kind of stay there and go, well, I don't care about life because nobody cares about me. Well, then you know what? Then that's the way it's always going to be. You have that attitude that you put that energy out into the universe, that's exactly what you're going to get back. You have to remain positive. And I mean, you know, and I just went through this, you know, a couple of days ago, stressing out on my Star Wars channel. Boom, lesson learned, you know, and now here I am, you know, happy again, positive, sharing community and family and stuff like that, and that's what I'm about, you know, sharing stories and stuff like that, and that's how you have to remain, because eventually you'll get that energy back to you, and part of what will help you gain that structure and gain that energy coming into you, plan, guys, plan. Plan your lives at least just a little bit, so that you can make sure that you're not falling into a hole constantly, because a lot of times, there aren't going to be people there to pull you back out of the hole, and it's very hard to climb back up. So always make sure that you have a plan going through and going forward with your life. It's one of the most valuable tools that you will ever learn, just simply to plan things, at least 5 years ahead. So I hope this story today, guys, gave you a little bit of wisdom on that front. To, you know, to don't be like me. You know, don't do what I do. Don't be directionless. Get direction and stay on that direction and learn something from it too. So thank you guys for joining me for today's vlog. I'll be back tomorrow with another vlog, of course, and more wisdom. I might be, you know, because I got my mom's birthday over there, the whole restaurant thing going on, and I got a movie review and all that, so I might be back with a little vlog, might not, but I will definitely be back soon to take you guys somewhere out again. But until next we meet, take care, guys, and I'll see you later.